Hello, and welcome to the No Wrong Notes podcast, a show hosted by me, Veronica Kokos, holistic voice teacher and singer just like you. Grab a cup of tea, relax, and sit back as we discuss all things singing technique, mindset tips, and more so you can show up as the most confident and creative singer you can be. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of No Wrong Notes. This week's episode was inspired by a question that I often get from new students, which is, how do I feel more confident when singing? While I think it's understandable that singers want to feel confident on stage, you obviously want to feel like you know what you're doing with your voice. But in thinking back to every single one of my performances, not once did I feel 100% free of anxiety. I think that being comfortable with the discomfort that comes with singing in front of people is part of showing up confidently as a singer. It's being comfortable with that discomfort, or at least accepting that discomfort, and trusting that you've done the work to not completely crash and burn. But how do you get to the point of feeling somewhat confident in your voice? How do you get to the point where you know that you may not completely crash and burn? While this episode doesn't cover every single situation or address every single thing that helps build confidence in the voice, let's talk about a few things you'll want to work towards and have in place when it comes to building trust in your singing voice. Now, one of the most important things that helps build confidence in the voice is having sustainable singing skills in place. Part of the reason that we spend time working on singing technique and lessons is because putting in the work through vocal exercises helps build muscle memory through repetition. That repetition, singing the scales and arpeggios and slides day in and day out, that repetition builds that muscle memory that then kicks in when you step on stage or into the audition room. While I will never force a student to practice outside of lessons, I believe that we all lead busy lives and only you can know what you need when it comes to practice. Part of why practicing is so effective is that it helps you understand your instrument better, and it helps you work through struggles in the practice room rather than on stage. You don't want to have to second guess whether that high note will come out or not when you're at karaoke night or auditioning for a community musical. Practicing helps you lock in the sustainable skills you're building in lessons or elsewhere so that you can trust that your voice won't fail you when it matters. One quick note. Part of building sustainable singing skills involves awareness. That is, awareness of how consistent your singing is or isn't, and choosing different techniques and exercises that help address any inconsistencies. Simply put, putting in practice time is not enough. You want to be aware of what's working and what isn't in your singing so you can make adjustments as needed and make that progress that you want. Practicing on autopilot and just going through the motions isn't really helpful when it comes to making changes in your singing. However, solid vocal technique isn't the only thing that builds trust and confidence in yourself when it comes to your singing voice. Your beliefs and your mindset shape the trust that you have in your voice as well. Of course, our beliefs and mindset are shaped by many factors, and if we're struggling with our mental health, the beliefs we hold around our voice will reflect that. This is why I am such a huge proponent of mental health care, as are many other people on the internet today. Seeing a therapist or self-reflection through a journaling practice are huge for transforming beliefs that are holding us back into more helpful thought patterns. I also know that the process of getting into therapy or a journaling practice can be difficult. So one practical thing that you can do to get started on this process that you could literally do today is through noticing your thoughts. One thing I will do sometimes is even question my thoughts. Once I find myself starting to spiral into a negative thought pattern like, I'm not good enough, or I'm a fraud, I don't know what I'm talking about, I will ask myself, is this true? Going a step further, if I answer that question with a yes, I will ask myself, do I know it to be absolutely objectively true. Like if I was standing outside of myself in someone else's shoes, would I have physical evidence to support my belief? For example, is there evidence that I'm not good enough objectively? No. Is there actual evidence to support the idea that I'm a fraud? No. And that's why I love getting down to the absolute truth of these beliefs, because 99.9% of the time, these negative beliefs we have just aren't objectively true and are usually shaped by our prior experiences. Getting to the root of where those beliefs come from through a journaling practice or meeting with a therapist is the next step to transforming those beliefs from something that holds you back to something that empowers you. Something else that's required to build confidence and trust in your voice is time. What I mean by this is that it takes time and experiences with trial and error through performances and auditions to really start to feel confident in your voice. As much as I wish I could wave a magic wand and help singers feel more confident in their singing overnight, that's just not the case. On a physical level, our brains actually need time to process our experiences, from experience in the practice room to experiences with performances and auditions, to really learn and integrate all the information we're taking in. I mean, I see this play out all the time in lessons with students. Students come into their first lesson with me telling me that they want to feel more confident in what they can do with their voice. And after a few weeks and months of doing exercises, learning new skills in their brains, encoding and integrating the information they're taking in, they begin to feel more confident in what they can do. Now, even as I've shared all of this information in today's episode, I want to emphasize that building trust and confidence in your voice is kind of like relationship building. In fact, you have a relationship with your voice, and it's important for you to think about it this way. It's something that I definitely encourage. Your voice is a tool that you can use to communicate, yes, but we also have a relationship to our voices, and that we invest time, energy, and money in getting to know it better. Everything I've shared in today's episode is helpful in building that relationship with your voice. From the practicing, the learning, to learning how to speak to yourself with more patience and kindness. But just like any relationship, the journey isn't just one that goes straight to the stars. It's a journey with ups, downs, triumphs, and struggles. And just like a relationship with a loved one, you don't give up just because your voice has had a bad day or you find yourself struggling for months with a certain technique. You find a way through that struggle and ask your voice what it needs. Does it need more practice? Does it need another teacher to explain a certain technique differently? Does it need rest? Just as in any healthy relationship, keeping an open line of communication with your voice is really, really essential. Okay, friends, that is my message for you this week. I hope that this was useful. Of course, this doesn't cover every single thing that goes into building confidence in your voice. I can't address every single unique situation, but these are just some things to think about when you're considering and wanting to build more trust and confidence in your voice. Now, if you liked this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star rating and review. If you would like to work with me, I actually have some open lesson slots this summer. They are just drop-in lesson slots, so I don't have any room for like a weekly or bi-weekly meeting. If you wanted to meet regularly, that's not an option at the moment. But if you wanted to drop in for a lesson, I do have some drop-in slots over the next month that are available. You can check those out, book a trial lesson, book a lesson with me through the link in the show description. Of course, I've also got my Curious Singer membership. Maybe lessons are kind of out of reach at the moment in terms of time and investment. I offer my Curious Singer membership as a way to work with me and receive feedback and guidance on your singing through WhatsApp. So it's on your own time, and it's at a fraction of the cost of regular lessons. So you can also check that out in the link in the show description. Of course, you can find me on social media as well. Those are linked below. And in the meantime, happy singing, y'all.